Welcome to Between Over and Next with your hosts, Holli and Robert, a happily married couple who explore the space between what was, what is, and what's to come. From career changes to navigating life's uncertainties, this dynamic duo will empower you to live your happiest life at every age and stage. So, get ready because your journey with Holli and Robert starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Between Over and Next. Hi, Holli.
Hi, Robert.
Did you just happen to put on the same shirt as me? Did that by accident?
Well, no, it's all about beginnings, Robert, and we were both made in Brooklyn.
For those of you only listening, we're wearing our Made in Brooklyn t-shirts.
You'd have to go over to YouTube to see how cute we look.
Speak for yourself. You look cute. I'm your backup singer.
Well, if you look on our website at one of the videos that we've produced.
We were wearing our Made in Brooklyn t-shirts.
Yeah, I ordered these on Amazon.
I had one for a very long time that I used to wear all the time.
You did. It was called Steve something.
Steve and Company or something.
It was in the mall.
And they were like $5, weren't they? Like
yes.
all their t-shirts
yes.
were $5.
Yes. You like that store.
There. Yeah.
So today's episode of Between Over and Next is a celebration of 24 episodes of Between Over and Next.
Right. This would be episode 25.
This is episode 25.
We're at about the 6-month mark.
We released our first episode on January 16th. The episode right before that was the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Our first episode, the beginning of this year, 2024, was Meet Your Hosts, Holli and Robert. That's you and me. And we shared our journey. And in January, we continued talking about entrepreneurship and also the meaning of Between Over and Next.
Well, we were setting the stage for what it is that we're doing.
This is a special review episode, and it's about our podcast journey and our purpose, and especially we want to express gratitude to you.
Yes.
For your support and your love for tuning in.
And with anything we do, we like to assess at different points of things that we're doing so that we can continue to grow and evolve as content producers. And it's very interesting when you take stock, right? Because that's what essentially we were doing. We're taking stock of what we've done, because those of you who have been podcasters, are podcasters, or aspiring to be podcasters, part of the decision process when you start a podcast is frequency. How often will you publish? When we started Wedding Podcast Network back in 2005, I don't think we had that frequency plan in place. I think we were too busy creating content. And it seems like we were producing content multiple times a month based on things that we were covering. We were covering bridal market. We were going to bridal shows. We were interviewing couples. We were just in a mass of collecting content. When we started this podcast, we were much more deliberate in that we decided to do a weekly show, which we knew up front.
It was a big commitment.
Big commitment. But we knew that we wanted to create a flow of content that people who were resonating with what we did were given what they wanted. You could certainly produce monthly or twice a month, but we felt that coming out once a week would be something that would work for us and hopefully work for our listeners. Anyone doing podcasts understands that if you're doing it right, and we hope that people see that we're doing it right, shows are well prepared, thanks to you. As a producer, researching pre-interviews, setting up guests. If you're doing it right, it's a lot of time and commitment. And the other side of it is you come out with a great podcasts that people like and express their gratitude for. But what's interesting is when we look back, there's a lot of content so far in these 25 episodes, which makes us feel good because all the hard work, we have something for
I'm
there.
proud of it. We said at the very beginning that the Holli and Robert brand, okay,
Mm-hmm.
logo that I love so much, love you more, is our legacy. And this podcast is part of that. And we have been exploring themes, including life's pivots, milestones, and legacy, all while connecting with audiences of entrepreneurs like us, empty nesters like us, people that want to live their happiest, most fulfilled lives. And importantly, individuals seeking personal growth and development. So I feel that the people that we have invited to be featured guests on Between Over and Next, and by the way, we have had 16, starting off with our children, our adult children, Lindsay and Alex, all the way to a friend and professional colleague, Oleg Mariasis. I will do shout-outs to everyone else in between because everyone deserves to be mentioned during this episode because we are so thankful that they took the time to share their stories. And importantly, it is about the lessons learned and the experiences along the way.
That was part of our mission, and it's a tagline of ours, let our experience be your advantage. And what we tried to do with some of these initial episodes is take our real life situation, our own personal and professional pivots, and bring in those people who helped us through those times, people who gave us advice and inspiration, and whether it be family or Jackie, who was our realtor, who was instrumental in making our dreams come true.
By being in this new home and this amazing podcast studio that I love.
Having the right person there to help you prepare for one of life's major, major pivots when you have a new place to live.
There's been a lot of storytelling. And from that storytelling, there's been some invaluable insights. If you're new to Between Over and Next, welcome. I really encourage you to go to the very first episode because it really is a journey together. And throughout that journey, we are learning and growing together. But importantly, I really take great pride in composing and sharing the show notes. And in every single episode, when you go to hollyandrobert.com to the podcast page, when you go to each episode, there is a wealth of information. And importantly, there are the key takeaways. And I invite you to come to hollyandrobert.com. You'll see a pop-up, and we'll also include a link to how you can join our email list because every Thursday, I share a highlight of the podcast episode of the week, the 2 blog articles that we are committed to releasing every Wednesday and Sunday, and every Thursday I send this weekly email called The Weekly Peek.
Right. And being on our email list is important to us and should be important to you because we've run into this just recently. The social media space, while we think that we have a lot of rights and privileges in that space, we don't. And a social media account can be gone in an instant. And Holly, a couple of years ago, had a situation where her Facebook account was hacked and all of her contacts and all of her content went away. Countless stories of friends on Instagram.
This is excellent advice. So make it very clear. Your email list,
your email list
is the most important thing.
And most valuable thing that you have.
So it matters to us for you to be part of our community.
Right, because no matter what happens, no matter what Facebook does, like we posted 2 things that we shared on our latest episodes, and Facebook flagged it as spammy, and they took it down. And
we have no idea why.
This was just a link to our website with our podcast, But there is no recourse. You can't go to anyone and complain. You can't get Mark Zuckerberg on the phone. You can get anybody on the phone to complain, right? So our most direct link to our listeners is our podcast feed, subscribing to our podcast, the RSS feed. And more importantly is having you on our email list. So join us, because then you'll hear and see and learn about all of the things that we're doing. And show notes, that you mentioned, a very interesting concept where it was born out of the podcasting movement, because so much information is shared in podcasts, and because you may be driving down the road right now, you may be on the elliptical, you may be running, you may be just lying in bed and not really wanting to get up. And we may mention something that you want to explore further. You don't have to jot it down now or anything. You just come to our website, go to the episode, look at the show notes. All of the links are there. All of the information is there. And that's really the beauty of a good, thoroughly produced podcast, is that you do have a robust set of show notes to go along with the digital content.
So we have personally adapted and pivoted throughout these 24 episodes. It's been an extraordinary, fun 6 months together. We have discussed pivots within each show. We have our guests that have shared significant changes in their lives between Over and Next.
It's always interesting to see what resonates with our listeners, because we have our favorite episodes. And for the most part, in looking at our statistics, some of our favorite episodes happen to be yours as well, which makes us feel good because we're on the same wavelength.
Each episode has its own special something, so that's why we encourage you to tune in. And our episodes, the goal is around a half hour, but sometimes they're up to 45 minutes, but that is going to be it. We are respectful of your time and the time that you are choosing to spend with us, which we are so grateful for. But we've learned about the importance of commitment and consistency. And it's actually about doing the do.
And authenticity.
Always. Bringing value in every single episode to you. I promise you, you're going to learn something, whether it be from us or whether it be from our guests that are on that
Whether you
episode.
like it or not.
Whether you like it. Now, we also talk about celebrating milestones like this and achievements. Our first two guests were our kids, Lindsay and Alex.
Which happens to be, so far, as of the recording of this podcast, the most popular episode.
So that's episode 4, and it's titled Celebrating Achievements of the Parent-Child Journey. It's one of my favorites because it's so personal, because it's also how we have been mentors and role models in our children's lives, as you are, if you are a parent to your children, or even if you're an aunt or uncle to your nieces and nephews. There is so much impact there, but also seeing where they are in this decade of their lives that are the 20s, and our daughter just turned 30. So she's on to the next experiences of her life. The key takeaways from that episode are that the role of parents as lifelong mentors and cheerleaders is crucial in shaping the personal and professional lives of their children. Embracing one's passion and being open to life's changing landscapes is essential for growth and happiness. Forming and nurturing connections is invaluable. The concept of resilience is a critical skill, and how generational perspectives can differ and align. Those are just a few of those takeaways from that episode, and every episode has some key takeaways that you're going to learn about. The thing is, we value relationships so much, not only with our children and our family members, but the people we meet along the way. Robert mentioned Jackie, who was a friend and our realtor, and she was episode 5, right after our kids. Believing in your dreams for your next big move.
There were so many pieces to moving, to selling a home and buying a home and doing the move. There were so many moving parts, so many little pieces. And although we did some of it on our own, right? Our purchase was for sale by owner. Jackie made that happen. We would have not been able to manage this process because our seller was selling it on his own. So she was not only helping us, but she was helping the whole process. And it was just amazing how much she knows about this. And as much as I love being around Jackie and the process was amazing, I don't want to do it again anytime soon. It, by far, is probably the most stressful thing that we've done.
Makes it
and she made, she made it possible. Listen, when you're doing anything important, having the right people surrounding you,
but
makes or
also
breaks.
learning the ins and the outs, and the ups and the downs, and having perspective about the situation you're in and looking at it through another lens.
There is no substitute for experience. There is no way that anyone just starting out doing anything could possibly know the same things and have the same experience as someone who's done it for a long time. Now, I get it. There's people starting out in every business, in every industry. Something like this and something like what I want to talk about next, you have to have the right experts. Because another top episode, and no real surprise because half of the married population goes through it, was our episode on divorce with Sal Simeone, matrimonial attorney.
So that was episode 8. So it's called Navigating Divorce, Expert Advice for a Successful Outcome. A couple of takeaways there was choosing a divorce attorney should not only be about legal expertise, but also about finding a personal fit and establishing a strong client-attorney partnership.
I'm thankful that I have a strong relationship.
And a happy marriage.
But if I were going through a divorce, Sal would be my guy.
Another takeaway, life after divorce should be approached with an optimistic outlook, recognizing the potential for personal rebirth and happiness in the future. And future relationships.
If you talk anyone, the connotation of divorce is a very negative connotation. When you listen to the episode with Sal on divorce, the entire episode, the slant is your life's not over. You have a lot of living left to do. You're going to get through this divorce. You're going to be okay. You're going to move on. It's not the end of the world. And you know something? When you're going through a divorce, that's the kind of vibe you want, right? You don't want to wallow. Listen, things happen. You have to go through it. But the strategies that he shares, and the information that he shares, jaw-dropping moments like, oh my God, that's really what you need to know. So,
and importantly, our divorced friends told us he was spot on.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. He said his advice was excellent.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to all the other guests.
Some were very long time friends and colleagues that answered our request to be on our show.
Well, this is so cool. People come into your life for a reason. I say this all the time. And I'm grateful for those that have. So we have invited people, for instance, like Jill Freckman, who I met 20 years ago when we started Wedding Podcast Network. That was a fabulous episode. And she talks about her Fretzels brand at the time. Mm-hmm. We have Rivers, a romance author, but she started out as an attorney.
Right. And was with us.
And was an event planner.
Through the wedding space.
Talking about pivots and shifts.
And one of our first podcasting clients,
right,
when we produced for her and her husband Mike Year on Careers.
That was a great podcast.
That was a great podcast.
That was a really great podcast. And
that was in conjunction with their college counseling and tutoring business. It was just fantastic. And their office was right across the street from our old office in West Orange.
I love when people really follow their heart and their passion and their purpose, and they really do consider other opportunities to express themselves. Mm-hmm. Like to become a romance novelist, and I read a couple of Arel Rivers books, and I'm like, wow, this is good. So really focusing on what matters most is another important theme that we touch on with every single one of our guests. So Sue Monheit, who we met when we were producing at home event during COVID. She's recently retired and, wants to play pickleball and sold her ribbon print company, and all of her podcasts are still online for those that want to take their hobby to a real business. And then we've met people through other people like Andy Levine, who had a TED Talk, and I thought, wow, he also has a podcast. He has some great stories to share. My high school friend, Howie Wallstriker, we met David Noonan. His journey was so cool.
Yeah, it was fascinating stuff. And then one of our major pivots in our careers was embarking on the cannabis space back in 2018 when we launched Canna Pop-Up. And grateful to Stu Zakum, who we met through the cannabis space, who was one of our guests, and another very, very popular episode.
And he's a PR guy.
He
was PR in film and media.
Now he's helping entrepreneurs launch their cannabis businesses, get it out to the world, and he's just an amazing guy.
Our other kind of friend and colleague is Oleg Mariasis, and that was the last episode where we learn a lot about safe consumption, the path to legalization, and we talk about what the future holds with this natural therapeutic. And what about dandelions, Robert? What did you learn about dandelions from Shannon Mayernick?
We learned that we shouldn't be eradicating them. We should be gathering those little yellow flowers that we see each spring across our lawns. She actually cultivates that because dandelion is apparently good for you.
And then my friend Donna Philweber, who I met through Believe, Inspire, Grow, she shared her story, and she was in lots of direct sales businesses, and now she's a publisher of a local magazine.
Yep.
Which is really beautiful. And the other recent episode that we did was with Robin about chasing tornadoes. And that was so much fun, first of all, to see the show, but then to learn more about their friendship and their musical lives that crossed over and what they're looking forward to next.
Rob has such an incredible bio in the music space, working with truly A-list of the A-list. And we lived in the same town for 30 years and barely knew what it was that he was doing. And we're talking about major, major accomplishments. It was just fantastic to have them both on and talk about their relationship, the way their paths cross, because again, no coincidences, and how they have come together again and are producing this great musical experience that we got a chance to bring them in and talk to
and
them
all
about.
Because of your friendship with Jane, who's the girlfriend to Rob Fasari. So the power of relationships and networking, it has contributed to the success of our podcast because we've had meaningful connections with these guests. There's a ripple effect. Each time we meet someone, it sparks the idea of who else do we want to share their story with on our programming.
Yeah, and we're grateful that we have listeners that have communicated with us, which allows us to continue to shape our programming in a way that it resonates, makes it easier for our listeners, our viewers to consume. So we want to thank those of you who have reached out to us and expressed how much you're enjoying the show. Special thanks to anyone who has left us a public review on Apple or any of the other platforms. Can't thank you enough. And we hope that you've left them because you want to leave them, not just because we're asking you to. But if you haven't left us a review and you do like what we're doing, I can tell you that as podcasters, those reviews go a really long way in helping us grow our audience, grow our show, attract potential sponsors. So if you would take the time and leave us a review, that would be great. Communicating with us is also something that we love. And you can do that on social. You can do that through any comments on any of our posts on social.
And share. Please share.
And as we said before, I don't want to sound like a broken record. A record is a thing that used to play music. Getting on our email list, sharing your email address with us is incredibly important. So if you would please go to our website and join our mailing list. You'll only get an email like once or twice a week from us, and easy to digest, and just gives you a little bit of an update on what is going on currently and what you can expect down the line.
A lot of the entrepreneurs and the creators we've interviewed have had some really amazing quotes over these 24 episodes. So that is another thing that is part of the show notes, are some of the notable quotes. Mm-hmm. There are a few things that we always talk about is the power of belief in yourself, in the process, about perseverance. We want you to trust your journey. And that is a really important thing. Trust the process. Stay patient. You know, there's a lot of change. There are challenges. There's uncertainty. But we really do believe that throughout our episodes, there's a lot of that that's illustrated. But how you can overcome it, how you can deal with it, how you can stay the course. So what's next, Robert? What can our listeners look forward to in future episodes?
Well, we have lots of really good content coming your way. We actually recorded a fantastic episode earlier today that we're very excited to release, and that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So look out for that. There are so many people that we need to thank that have helped us along the way. And we would be remiss in not thanking the voice that starts off and ends all of our shows, and that's G. Keith Alexander, who recorded our open and our close, and who we hope to have on a future show, talk about amazing stories. This man is a giant in radio, and proud to have his voice as part of our podcast Between Over and Next. So thank you to G. Keith Alexander.
The first episode of April, episode 12, kind of in the middle, right? Episode 12 in the middle was Creating a Lasting Legacy, the Value of Video Storytelling. And in that episode, we offer a free guide. I actually include that in our weekly peak email every week for people to be able to tap into. And legacy is something that really matters to us. And we really believe that you also have a legacy to leave. So if you are considering starting a podcast or starting a new business or want to write a book or whatever you want to do that's kind of in the thinking, planning stages, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you to access our calendar to schedule a discovery meeting with us so we can help you figure out what those next steps could be. We would love to learn more about you and what your next big thing could be. So that is something that we would love to connect with you. And also, if you know anybody who has a story worthy of sharing, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we absolutely will consider potential guests for Between Over and Next, because we are stronger and better together. So we invite you to recommend the people in your network, in your world.
So thank you for indulging us as we look back on essentially the first 6 months Between Over and Next, and what helped us to kind of, as I said before, take stock, inventory what it is that we've done, because when you're producing every week, you go from 1 week to the next, sometimes it's good to take a breath and look back on what you've done and see what you have accomplished. We're firm believers in being able to see those milestones pass, right? To reach achievable goals, right? Set goals that you can achieve. And that's what we're trying to do with Between Over and Next. So thank you for listening. If this is your first episode that you're listening, or if it's the 25th that you're listening to, thank you, because it really means a lot to us.
Can we do a shout out to Norman Lear?
We can.
Can you please share with everybody?
So that would be a good way to wrap this up. One of the things that has happened over the last 6 months is Norman Lear, who was the inspiration for Between Over and Next, passed away. I believe he was 101. Mm-hmm. Lived a very long, fruitful life. What he had created and set forth for people in the television industry, truly, truly groundbreaking. And so much of the television sitcom world rests on his shoulders. And we're proud that, although we've never had a chance to meet him, was the reason why we're doing this podcast, Between Over and Next. We lost a great man, but we owe a debt of gratitude to him for bringing this into our lives.
Because importantly, we want you to continue the journey with us as we explore the space between what was, what is, and what's to come.
So thank you for listening. And thank you, Holly, for being my partner in yet another thing.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks for tuning in to Between Over and Next. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it meaningful and insightful.
If you value it to be worthwhile, please share it with your friends and family.
We would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to write a review for us. Your feedback will help us continue to create content that resonates with you.
And don't forget, in the show notes, you can find all the relevant links mentioned in this episode, from accessing free downloads to visiting our website and more.
If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Simply send us an email. Our email address is hello@hollyandrobert.com. We're always excited to connect with our listeners.
So until next time, thank you again for joining us on Between Over and Next.
Thank you for listening to Between Over and Next, the podcast that navigates the twists and turns of life with courage, laughter, and a whole lot of inspiration. Tune in every Tuesday to hang out with Holli and Robert on your favorite podcast platform. Visit hollyandrobert.com and follow them on social media to ignite your passion and fuel your dreams.